Today we are going to have our proposal presentation. Okay, so but before that, there are a few things I would like to tell you. I have actually communicated with you that we luckily this course has got the E-grant. So we are going to have 6 weeks with 2 international scholars to be our co-instructors. So we will use the new version of the syllabus. Also, I think Andrew has emailed you all of our activities, including your comments and uploading the proposal and all the files, will be moving to the eMoodle platform because they create a different platform for us. And part of the KPI will be our interactivities. There will be counts, views, and so on and so forth. So we have to shift the whole thing to another platform. So just pardon me or pardon us for this inconvenience because the university just made the decision too late. Okay, so today I have to tell you there are some informations given for the 2 instructors. The first one will be Natalie Pan, Senior Lecturer of the Department of Communication of New Media, National University of Singapore. So you can find more information and details in the link. So basically, she's very productive scholar and international well-known. The recent project we have worked together across 6 countries about the data privacy, security, and innovation. So she's going to introduce 3 weeks topic in relation to Singapore's new media convergence, social media communication and impact, mobilization, disinformation, and our recent project about data privacy and security. And the other co-instructor will be Professor Fernando Paragas. So he used to be the department chair of the Department of Communication Research and in the #1 university in communications in University of Philippines, Diliman. And he will teach the other 3 weeks. And first, still will starting from new media convergence in Philippines, and then focusing on his specialties on the mobile media and some challenges in mobile advertising. So I think they will give very enriched experiences to our class. And also they will bring some students, and the students will, because in Asia, we'll have the real-time interaction, so they will also be part of our class to interact with us. Okay, so for today, the oral presentation, each of you will have 5 points. So 15 minutes for you to present, followed by 5 minutes feedback from me and the discussant. The sequence of discussion, basically the first group who presented will be the second group's discussion. So the last group, like I think is Lucas, right? Last group and Melissa, then you will respond to the first group. So, so that's the logic follow. So please pay attention to the first group's presentation, Melissa and Lucas, okay? And so I will also have overall feedback to all of you in the end, and I will provide some discussions with you if, I think we will start with maybe the early morning group, the 2 actually, you are so far away, so we will interact with you. I will talk to you about your project first, and then I will talk to individual group. But what you still need to do, okay, I just uploaded one of the evaluation form. So each individual work. So this is for you to actually follow the structure, how you actually think about other groups' peer evaluation. So basically topic introduction, research purposes, and RQs account for 40%. Because I understand the proposal is quite draft. I mean, you are still in the initial stage. So basically focusing on the thinking part and whether it's clear or not, and then whether it's a good topic to continue or, that's the potential, okay? And literature review will be 20%. And I put 30% to the master research design because to me, I think proposal, the most important thing is how you are going to carry out the research. Okay, and then 10% for today's oral presentation. These are the guidelines for you to thinking about how you are going to evaluate your classmates' work. And at the end, you can tell me in the, just send me maybe message or whatever. I think message will be good because you don't need to send back the phone. All the so-called comments, you will go to eMoodle and then responding to that PPT slides for today. So you have 24 hours to finish the responding. And I think for the interactivity, you will also have to sort of reply for your classmates' feedbacks. Okay, so it'll be two-way communication instead of just responding and then there's no response back. Okay, if you have any question that you can ask me later on. So this is the link for you to go to the eMoodle. Yeah, I think each of you have your own password, right? Okay. All right, so you don't need to return me back the phone, but this is the guideline for you actually to think about how to evaluate. And eventually you will tell me, maybe based on just the messenger or email, tell me who are the number one in your heart. You think that's the best group, and the second and the third. Today, I think we only have 4 groups because we couldn't contact the other 2 students in Italy and in, I think, China. So just whoever presented today will get the top is like a maximum 5 points. And you will have 1 week based on the feedback and comments. You will still have 1 more week to develop a better version. But this is not compulsory. If you think it's totally good, you don't want to do the revision, it's okay. I will just mark based on whatever you submitted to me. But if you think you can take advantage of the time, because we are going to have a spring break, right? So next week we don't have class, you don't have reading for this class. You want to work on and work harder, to make a better proposal. That's also very welcome. Okay, so whoever did not, fail to present today, you still have the 10 points chance if you meet the deadline. Okay, so the deadline will be Taiwan's time next week, 4 o'clock. I mean, of course, before our lecture end, the time. Okay, so you have 2 types of submission. You know that, right? The first one is more elaborated PPT. I think not elaborated enough right now when whatever you have submitted. I think it's more for presentation oral. You have to make lots of maybe some complementary explanations for whatever shown on your slides. So if you submit it in a so-called PPT form, you have to put lots of details so that people can read the PPT and understand what exactly you are going to do. Or you can choose to do another form, which is 5-page, no more than 5-page. I think thinking is more important than writing a lot. I don't really require writing a lot, including your responding to your classmates. I think concise and meaningful and constructive will be the direction for you to answer. Okay, so examples has provided on the old Moodle. Okay, I think Andrew will help to move something, to the eMoodle, but we just finished the so-called workshop last Friday. So it's very rushed for us to actually make everything ready, but we will try. Okay, if you have any question, just feel free to ask and email me. And this is the final reminders for the research paper, because after the week after the spring break, I will still have 1 section to lecture, to teach you about, sort of share about the dual screening and the multi-screen video. And then we are going to have the 6 weeks with 2 instructors overseas. Then when you come back, then we will have the data analysis. So meaning during the 7 to 8 weeks, you will have to really kickstart your research and collect data. But of course, I will be always around. So just find time to discuss with me. And if you have any ideas or you have some so that you lost your directions, we can always talk, okay, and then discuss and make your proposal or data collection analysis better. All right, so here are just some reminders and you can follow the slides. So today, I think we are going to just let you, it's your show time, and then you will tell us what you are going to do and then what's your plan for this semester's research project. So now we are going to invite the first group to come here to use this the PPT, right? You are going to come forward. Yeah, we are recording. So you have to work faster. All right.
Hi, everyone. Hi, good morning and good afternoon. I'm Esther, and this is our topic. Our proposal topic is Clubhouse Mediated Parasocial Experience Modality and Synchronicity as Predictors of Gratification, and will be presented by me and Lorna. So our presentation will start with an introduction, research aims, and literature review, which included related studies, research gap, related theories, research framework, and lastly, the methodology of our research. So as our topic mentioned, we would like to study about Clubhouse. In the beginning, let me introduce some background about Clubhouse to you guys. So since the rise of Clubhouse went viral, there are a lot of articles that discussing about it. One of them has described Clubhouse as the Silicon Valley's latest unicorn. So what is this unicorn? The Clubhouse has described it on their official website as a new voice-based social product that allows people whenever they are to chat, to tell stories, to develop ideas, deepen friendships, and meet new interesting people around the world. So in this drop-in audio platform, Clubhouse users can listen and contribute to various conversations and even create their conversation in chat rooms without recording or storing them. So it is an invitation-only audio app, and it was launched in April 2020 by Paul Davidson and Rohan Seth, which is the employee of Google. And at the end of 2020, Clubhouse has 600,000 registered users. So next, we would like to discuss what causes the viral phenomenon of this Clubhouse. There are 3 points listed here. First is the uniqueness of Clubhouse from other social media. As I mentioned before, positioning Clubhouse as an invitation-only audio app. So its function and concise interface makes that Clubhouse shows its uniqueness from other social media. So if you ever use Clubhouse, you'll know it is very easy to use. And another point worth discussing is its explosive success has been attributed to the A-list celebrity co-signs. So in Clubhouse, most of the room hosts included plenty of influencers like famous businessmen, expertise, celebrities, and politicians. And the turning point began after Elon Musk walked into Clubhouse in the late of January to talk about aliens and human livings on Mars. The next day, founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, also joined in Clubhouse and talked about AR and VR. So subsequently, all of the celebrities flocked in like Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Drake, and others. So users get to follow the famous people they are interested or admire in the way more intimately as they got the chance to interact with the celebrities through this chatting and in the same virtual and real time, same virtual space and in real time. And the third point is that an article has once mentioned that Clubhouse launched at the right time, which is the pandemic of COVID-19. So in the global pandemic, people were isolated and lonely. They seek to connect with others, will desire to have social behavior. So when the conference, bars, vacations were canceled, people would like to find others to have some social behaviors. But in Clubhouse, people can have meaningful conversation through Clubhouse. And Clubhouse came along and did what other networks or virtual events were not up to, that Clubhouse can unite a group of enthusiastic, informed and curious, open-minded people to talk about and collaborate all around the industry and social trends. So what is about the Clubhouse situation in Taiwan? As in the West, Taiwan's media stars, including celebrities, politicians, expertise, and social media influencers, also joined Clubhouse. So after the media stars joins Clubhouse, Taiwanese people also flock into this platform to track the stars they admire and desire to communicate with them through audio conversations. Thousands of Chinese users also flock into this app, and basically they are discussing about some topics like Taiwan dependency, democracy, or the most hottest topic in the Chinese club now is the Xinjiang detention camps. Yeah. So there are many of sensitive topics were discussed in this platform, and people. But there's a special point about Taiwan is that in Taiwan, people in Taiwan can live our lives normally because the condition of COVID-19 here is more peaceful compared to other country. So there's no such thing that I mentioned above, like isolated or loneliness. So we are thinking that maybe the point that people in Taiwan want to use Clubhouse is because the Taiwanese media stars also using. So they will follow the stars and follow them in Clubhouse. So this is and this leads to our research aims, which is explore the parasocial experience of Clubhouse in Taiwan and explore how the unique affordance of Clubhouse, which is real-time and voice-based interaction, mediates parasocial experience.
Now, here are some previous studies which is related to our research interests. We categorize them into two groups. The first is about parasocial experience on social media. And studies on Twitter and parasocial interaction in YouTube and parasocial relationship tells us that interactivity and a sense of community on social media positively correlates to parasocial experience. Also, another group we found the CMC, which is computer-mediated communication studies. And from these studies, we conclude that modality and synchronicity can affect the relational communication with social presence as one of the related concepts. In addition, social presence can be applied to explore parasocial relationships. Therefore, we find it very useful for our studies. From previous literature review, there are some research gaps. The first is that, of course, Clubhouse is a relatively new social media, so there is little discussion. Also, studies on parasocial experience and social media usually focus on the affordance of interactivity, but a few of them apply CMC perspective. And most CMC studies examine interpersonal relationship and less discuss parasocial relationships. So we think that our study is going to fill in the gap and make some contribution. We use these theories. The first is uses and gratification to explain the motivation and satisfaction of using Clubhouse, which is related to parasocial experience. And of course, the parasocial theory include parasocial interaction, which is the feeling of building the interaction, which helps build the relationship, one-sided relationship during communication. And parasocial relationship is the long-term exposures. After long-term exposure of parasocial interaction, they might develop a sense of relationship. The several concepts related to CMC we are going to use are social presence, modality, and synchronicity. Social presence is a sense of being together with each other during communication because of the exchange of social clues. And modality is the expression of communication, for example, text, voice, or audiovisual, etc. Synchronicity refers to whether the media can offer simultaneous or instant feedback. Our research framework includes 5 parts. The first part is the uniqueness of Clubhouse. Here we will identify Clubhouse functionality and uniqueness that is different from other social media, as Esther just mentioned. And the second part, we will use uses and gratification theory and parasocial experience. Here we identify PSI and PSR as motivation to use Clubhouse. Third, the third part will be parasocial interaction in social media. As mentioned before, Clubhouse is also a social media which offers interactivity and the sense of community. Therefore, we think that it is reasonable to say that it can also enable parasocial experience. The fourth part is about social presence, modality, and synchronicity. Based on literature review, we find that modality and synchronicity of Clubhouse can affect social presence. In the last part, we explore the relationship between social presence and parasocial relationship. Previous study also shows that they are correlated to each other, and since we think Clubhouse can improve social presence, we also think it can improve parasocial relationship and interaction. This is the hypothetic model we developed to clarify some of our research interests. So the first part is motivation, which directly results in gratification. And also the second trend is about modality and synchronicity. If the modality is richer and the synchronicity is higher, we think that it will lead to greater satisfaction of parasocial experience. Here are some hypotheses which is related to what I just mentioned, but so far we have something that we are struggling right now. So I'll talk about hypothesis number 7. We said that the users obtain gratification of using Clubhouse would be greater than using other social media platforms, but we have difficulty so far to think about what are other social media platforms. We want to focus on the text-based social media, such as traditional Facebook and etc. But we also think we are obliged to discuss live streaming as well. However, it's very difficult for us to think whether live streaming is text-based because user can only express themselves through text, but the media star are using audio-visual. So we have difficulty to clarify this part, which we would like further discussion.
Okay, so now reach the last part of our presentation. To investigate the hypothesis mentioned above, we plan to conduct our research with a quantitative method, which is online web surveys using purposive sampling. The questionnaire will be pre-tested to 10 undergraduate and graduate students who use Clubhouse to check the clarity of the questions. So once the survey has passed the pre-test, we hope at least 100 of participants can fill this questionnaire, including the consent form. So I think this is the wrap of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. So you can sit there, and then we'll welcome Melissa and also Lucas to respond to their presentation. So if you have any questions or feedback for the presentation just now. Melissa, Lucas?
It was a presentation, like a lot of information, which was very interesting. I don't have a question.
From my side, one question.
Okay.
Can you shortly explain the parasocial theory? Because I'm not a communication student and I haven't heard about it so far.
So it's basically the one-sided relationship that audience develop. And I think that the media figure or the celebrities are either have some relationship with them or they're close friends. However, it was first used in a TV viewing context where audience and media star do not have any kinds of interaction. But later on, when there is social media where audience can interact with the media star directly, I think the parasocial experience has evolved. However, it's very important to notice that parasocial experience is always one-sided. And even though through social media they have interaction, it is not equal because I think fans always think they know more about the star, but the star still know less about the fan.
All right. And another question regarding the online web survey. How do you find participants there? Do you post it yourself on social media to friends and so on? Or are there certain websites where you can find participants for it?
I think we will post it on the social media through maybe using Facebook. So we will find someone who use Clubhouse through our friends and ask them to fill in the online survey, and we will post it in the NCCU platform, I think. So that's a good question. We'll figure it out. Thank you.
All right.
Lucas, do you have any other question or okay? So Lucas, you are done, right? You okay?
Yes, I'm done from my side.
So I will just have the quick responses. I think the questions are good, but overall, I think you have started to a very interesting and a very emerging new technology that we have discussed last week that you want to look at the Clubhouse. But when you said research gap, you did not really looking at the research gap of the Clubhouse, but research gap more in the so-called new media. So I think this is the emerging technology. You need to look into the study, existing studies, what people have done. That part has been lacking. So not just looking into the theory, looking into the existing, the new studies that in all the world has actually looking at. So basically that when I do the Google Scholars, I find some people even talking about the mental illness. So those people cannot join the Clubhouse. So lots of interesting topics. Okay, so I'm not saying you have to do that, but you have to be aware what people have done and build upon them. There are so many directions you can go. And so personally, I think you have two research questions. The affordances will be something maybe as the basic questions. You'll say real time, right? And the voice. But how the two actually influencing people's responses of what? Gratification is a very huge term. What kind of gratifications? So you have to think about what kind of affordances, what kind of gratifications, and not just the celebrity join the Clubhouse, but also ordinary people. For instance, tomorrow I invite them to go to my session, have another course, invite a very famous Clubhouse host called Kay Blue. She currently is an anchor woman, but also she hosted a morning section talking about the global news in the Clubhouse. So she is a celebrity, yes, but not the friends actually talking to her, all those thousands of people interacting with her are celebrity. So what I'm saying is that not all the rooms belong to celebrity. So if you want to looking at the Clubhouse and based on parasocial that Lucas just asked, parasocial will be particularly to a very famous people like Lady Gaga or a president, USA or whoever that we feel like we know them, but they don't know us. So one thing is that Clubhouse, you name a few very famous people like Bill Gates, of course, you know this person, but not all of them. So one saying that why you go to parasocial as the first point that we would like to examine. That I think it's an interesting phenomenon, but would that be the first one you want to jump into? You need to think a little bit more. And the following questions, before recruiting the respondents, I also will ask you, are you very comfortable in terms of your quantitative skill, like doing the SPSS that run all the statistics? Yes.
I think I have good confidence
Okay,
in
great.
SPSS.
Okay, but before that, then there will be the hypothesis. Okay. I couldn't really follow and to tell whether your hypothesis can justify and persuade me or not, because you did not have a very clear flow in terms of based on A, B, C literature, then I can follow. So A will have a positive association with the B or negative. You just jump to the hypothesis immediately. So I have no idea, and I cannot just simply be being convinced by such I would say short or not so enough explanation in terms of the relationship you see between the many big terms that you want to cover. Okay, so if you do see the connection and the linkage, you have really to go step by step to tell us, you know, A influence B or A is positive or negative associated with B and based on what. Okay. I'll go back to the original question. The first important, I think most important question is that if this is an emerging technology and then you jump to quantitative research and based on perhaps there's some existing study can help you, but there could be something qualitative that you haven't really find out because because if you join a clubhouse, you will also see lots of profiles that people have to introduce them. They will raise hands and say, I'm going to talk about COVID-19 because there are thousands of people in the room. The host will cue someone because it's not just the host to keep talking and talking and talking. They are inviting people with knowledge and would like to share. So they have to know who you are and then decide whether you will be part of the maybe like a press conference, the panel list. Some are invited, some are spontaneous. So what I'm saying is there are other things actually can be considered instead of just the person who give the, maybe like the celebrities, it be on the central of the stage. So if I were you, I may not jump into a quantitative study right away. Since the whole thing, what is Clubhouse, and then there are so many things that I can explore, and then could be based on the emergent qualitative findings. Then I feel that okay, this justifying the parasocial will be very important. Then I'm going to do parasocial for the next step to do the survey. So you think about that, okay? And finally, I think purposive sampling will be a good term that we have discussed before. Yet, why 18 to 35? And you still need to have some justification. And even those use at 18 to 35, based on what you just described, your recruitment will be still your friend, most likely young college students, because you posted on NCCU forum or social media of your familiar places or your friends. So you need to think about how to recruit people, even though it's online. How to get most people out of it. Will there be some community actually discussing about Clubhouse, or some is that they share experiences and yeah, thinking about that. Yeah, and the cognitive or knowledge or something maybe perceived popularity. These kind of variables may be also very important to those people who want to use it or enjoy using it. Okay. But it's I think for the very short time you have a developed, I think a very uh, a research proposal with a great potential. But I just want to help you, and because whenever you invest time, then there will be no way in return. You have to keep doing it. But the starting point will be more for brainstorming, and we still can shape and make a better proposal. But I do see it has the potential maybe for later on have more good structures and design. You probably can have a conference paper out of it. Yeah, just keep doing. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Good job. All right. So, Ming, I talk too much, right? It's overtime.
这里
Eric, you have to be the discussion for Mimi's
View and then full screen. Okay. 好。
So when you are ready, you can start.
Okay, so I will start now. Hello and hi. I'm Ming Ming, and this will be my proposal. Which function works the best? Perceived diagnosticity in recommender system of Netflix. So I decided to focus on one OTT platform, which is Netflix, because I think that this is a global leading OTT platform right now. And I would like to start by giving you a look of Netflix. Like we can see that there are so many contents, like all kinds of genre from different countries. And I think that for now, it is not only important that we can produce content, but also that we know how to organize and then present them to the users, the audience. And so that is why that lately we will have the recommender systems. Or I saw in some other papers that like recommendation agent or recommendation systems. And I think that it is because that this is a relatively new tool, so there is no like one singular term for it right now. So I think in the future there will be maybe just one recommender system. But now let's just use recommender system for now. And so this is the paper that teacher Trisha introduced to me. And after looking into it, this is actually very new, like 2020. And here is the research figure in this paper. And there are 6, like from age 1 to age 6. And I would like to focus on the one that I circled, the perceived diagnosticity. So it means that to what extent the user will feel that the platform is actually helping me to find what I want to watch. Okay, so it's a bit different from the one down, perceived serendipity. That one means the the choosing process will be a bit spontaneous, like a feeling of surprise. But the upper one that I would like to focus on does not have that habit. Okay. Because I think it's harder to predict since the second one is when you because when like here, when we scroll through here, if Netflix only gives us what we know we will like for 100% sure, then we will think it's not fun. Because like I love, for example, if I love Conan, then and then Netflix only gives me Conan, then I will feel bored very quickly. So sometimes they will also mix in um some videos that is similar to Conan but not very not completely the same, like maybe Sherlock Holmes, like also detective but from another country. Yeah. But I think it's like a bit harder to control because since it's like being spontaneous. So I decided to focus on the upper one first, but maybe I can like have second thoughts later. So I'll just like continue right now and we'll see. And so these are the hypotheses from this figure. And so I blacked out the first, third, and the fifth. Like here are 4, and these are all related to the perceived diagnosticity. And so we can go back to the figure, like on the left side, we have math score accuracy, recommended content variety, and thumbnail image appeal. Like these are already like concrete recommendation agents. Like exactly how will these concepts help a user on Netflix to find the things they want. However, I hope to find the patterns that is even more concrete, like what to the extent that it's something I can see exactly from the homepage of Netflix. So I think this is still a little bit abstract. And I feel lucky that I found this. This is not actually a paper, but this is something from Netflix, the Netflix recommender system. And in this paper, in this article, I found that they actually have these 5
kinds of recommendation system. Like these are all parts of the recommendation systems, and we can take a look. Like this is the home page, and then on the left side you have a title. Like this one, it says 纪录片, it's documentaries, and then we have also trending now, and then Japanese movies and series. So these are actually all parts of the recommendation systems. Like the first one, personalized video ranker, it also calls as PVR. It means that Netflix will recommend you a genre of concept, like the documentaries I just showed. And also the second one, top and video ranker. The way that they use the algorithm is actually similar. However, in this one, they will only took the top ranking of the catalog. For example, if it's detective films, then this one will only take the best rated detective films on the top. So it will not be completely the same as the first one, PVR. Okay. And I think the third one is a little bit interesting. It's trending now, and this is actually like what I have here, shorter term temporal trends. Like for example, if you are if it's a Valentine's Day, then maybe you will see like 50 Shades of Grey in the homepage, and also on Christmas or Halloween. And on these holidays, there will be more possibly to have trending now on the homepage. And the fourth one, continue watching, is just something that you have watched before. And the fifth one, because you watched, this one is a little bit similar to what the teacher asked. Like on the second part, like they will give you some video that is similar, but yet not completely the same, to keep you go on and watch the same kind of genre. And we have like 5 points here, but I found one which is, I think, very interesting, is the genre hashtags. This one, I couldn't really find it on other platforms. And the genre hashtags is here. It's not like it's a bit subtle, but it has a more detailed way of organizing the content. Like in old times, we have maybe romantic films, sci-fi, horror movies, and we can sort of know them like in maybe like 10 plus genre. But now, because of the technologies, we are able to organize them in an even detailed way. Like we can have like 好心情 here, it means like good mood, and then 启发人心, inspiring, and then 生活品味, taste for life. And before, we didn't have these ways of categorizing all of those films. And I also find, I try to find like this one is Line TV to make a comparison, that it doesn't have the genre hashtag. Like it gives us only the cast, and also some simple description of the movies. So I think the hashtags is something unique in Netflix, and also something I would like to take a deeper look. So I add the sixth one. And now, I actually, because I have 6 points right now, and what I hope to do is to find out that which one works the best, since that I think recommender system is something we are still developing and trying to know more. And I sort of believe that they're like in these 6 points, one of them will be the most helpful. And so I think that will figure us out how, like, where is the focal point of this very big recommend system. So I hope to do a survey with a 7-point Likert scale. That is the qualitative part. And then for the quantitative part, I hope to do some interviews with the Netflix users. And I'm still trying to think about the detailed questions. And my goal, my purpose will be try to find out the one that is most helpful function on Netflix currently. And that's about it. Thank you.
they should ask.
I have a question. I want to clarify what you mean by helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Helpful
For the user, right?
in what way?
I think because I want to focus more on the feeling the user have when he or she is like surfing and rolling on Netflix. And so I think I will when I ask the question, I hope to focus the this one. Like whether do they feel that um it leads them to what they want. But you mean like I should maybe have maybe 3 points about the to define the meaning of health for like maybe the speed that they find they have something that they want or
We want to talk about whether the audience feel like Netflix.
mm,
But,
yeah.
but maybe serendipity or you, if you already know that it's diagnostic,
Mm-hmm.
it's sure that it means Netflix. But if you focus on serendipity, whether because it's by chance.
Mm-hmm.
If it's by chance and Netflix still knows,
Oh,
that is more
interesting.
yes, because diagnostic already means that
Mm-hmm.
I don't I I don't really
Oh, I see. Okay. Mm. I think my main goal is more about comparing the ways that Netflix try to recommend a user. But
also the thing is the user won't persuade understand that oh this is showing to me I won't be I watch a lot of A's so
mm-hmm.
so I think it's very little bit that's your measurement to
Mm-hmm.
what you want.
Oh, because it's like something inside.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm, true.
It would be better to with another like you mentioned about
Yes.
don't have the gem.
Mm-hmm.
So I just
Oh, because I
only study in Netflix.
a bit too narrowed or hard to compare. Because I actually did look at Line TV too, and I wanted to do comparison, but I find um like they both have ways to recommend the user, but very quite differently. Like the way they organize their content itself is different. So I was a bit worried that if they organized it in a different way, then how do I compare them? But then maybe I won't be comparing how strong their algorithm is, but maybe more on the user ser UI, the
UX.
yeah, I think it's
User experience.
yeah, the user experience, like when they are scrolling through and the way that they organize them into roles, then maybe that is something that I can compare. I think like it's more visual. You can just see how they organize them.
Is Line TV subscription based?
This one you can go on free with a Line account, but you have like a premium if you want like maybe no ads or some content. Line TV will block them. Like if you are not a premium user, you cannot watch it now. You have to wait, something like that. But Netflix is like completely. I think there's no. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because that's what I was thinking. If you narrow your study to Netflix, it comes off more like presentation on past studies instead of
Mm-hmm.
a research topic. So I was thinking, like, that's me thinking that maybe you should compare both algorithms and measure their success based on however they measure the success, because Netflix measures its success by their income through subscription. I don't know how Line TV would measure their success. I'm guessing through the premium subscriptions as well. So maybe if you compare the algorithms, you can find a process in which you can decide which is more beneficial to the business.
I see. Maybe I should look at the scale of the two OTT, because I know that like Netflix is definitely having the crown, but so that is why I hesitated whether to compare Netflix with another platform, because like I already know Netflix is the best at doing what it does. So I don't know, would I be comparing two things that is not being like at the same, like substitute and components. Like they are substitute, but they are not components. So I was hesitating about comparing the two platforms.
Okay.
Or it's actually okay.
Yeah, so maybe go back to the first paper. I would like to ask you, so the first paper, when you use it, basically you need to look at the results. Is whether actually anything is sort of in significant supported or not. Otherwise, the lines may not be meaningful to you. Okay, so you need to look at the results. And so, what is the context of this study?
Only hypothesis.
The one where the sample is
It's Korea, in Korea.
In Korea, so it's in Asia, but may not be Taiwan. So what I'm saying is that something has been proved positive or significant, not necessarily will be the same in Taiwan. So go back to that slide. Okay. So I would suggest you, this one will be a good starting point. It's just based on what you have proposed, okay? And looking at what Netflix actually provided, you can add something in the first part, recommendation, maybe recommendation system or recommendation agent. Because right now you said matching score accuracy will be something related to the top two because they are ranking their scores, right? Right. Netflix said they are 5, and they don't have the recommended content variety, but that's when you do something like a survey, you need something more abstract instead of very specific, like this is my feature. You find Netflix offer the feature, but they sort of go up to abstract ladder and say, oh, whether the recommendation variety will be a good thing for those people to actually have better search experiences, influencing their decision satisfaction. You know what I'm saying? So maybe you can also add, because the other two, like some thumbnail, why it's very important, because Netflix actually promoted they have the AI to identify people's preferences and they'll choose the different appeal of the image to those people.
Yeah, they will change like from
So
time.
I think that one is sort of their signature, feature. So you should also include it if you want to do Netflix. And the other two, you can think whether they are the same or not the same. You can put them and add additional components to the agent. That will be your contribution, not limited by the 3. Okay? And I won't suggest you to just looking at the 2 dimension, only one, because the reason why they want to look at 2 because they are important. They cannot be separated, unless you have other reason you want to only looking at 1. But that's not strong enough.
Oh, so focus on both.
I think both, but individually, different dimensions, they are important. Just like Rona just mentioned, I think it's very important to know how the algorithm recommend you, and not so explicit, but based on their sort of understand about you, your preferences. These parts are more powerful, and the things people would like to find out. Yeah, and you can also think about the helpful. What is helpful? Helpful is very layman term, but decision satisfaction is something more specific. Because they will say, okay, you help me, and I feel like that's a good thing. I'm very satisfied. So they already give you very specific suggestion of the term. You don't need to go back to being helpful.
Oh, so I can just use what they have for now and then
You
add
can
things
use or you
inside.
can find something equally good
Okay.
instead of go back to the very ordinary like news writing or even blog writing term.
Okay.
So these are more academic.
I
They
see.
already give you some framework. What you need to do is just put the things into, and then maybe add the genre hashtag. That's something you would like to focus. And you are just one person. You don't need to think about too complicated and difficult, design. So focusing on either interview or
Just one.
I think interview will be better.
I think
Yes.
so.
And if you want to also add in some observation about how they use and then doing the user experiences, you need to have the qualitative way. And if you do have I don't know whether they provide you some measurements, how to measure these. If they do, you can use that as part of your qualitative interview and just have a short questions, ask them to rank, and then you will have their results. But this is a complementary to your qualitative insights. Instead of you use a survey as a more quantitative, then you probably will omit some interesting parts.
So it's better to choose maybe like for example the interview as my main methodology and then just short questions maybe inside the interview.
Because I think based on your survey with the 7-point Likert scale, meaning you don't really know about questionnaire too much, you won't just say scale because there are too many things that you have to follow.
I see.
So it depends on whether you have already mature and fully developed measurements to help you to looking at the items. But we can discuss more.
Okay.
And I think it gives further complexity in terms of comparing line to this one. And but that's also interesting directions. And you will have to really put the equal things together and then ask both user use both, or you want to just ask Netflix, or I think you have to ask people who have both experiences and do.
If I want to do both.
Yes.
But I think like after hearing everybody's opinions, I would maybe like to focus on the special unique features in Netflix, like the thumbnail and also the hashtag, because that's not something I.
It would be too small.
Oh, okay.
You still need to put the things in, but add new things because other maybe scholars did not notice that, or when they develop the paper, they haven't actually got into the hashtag yet.
Okay. Oh,
So
yes.
you will contribute to that part if that's really important. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we can
Thank you.
discuss more. Thanks. So how about we have 10 minutes break, and then come back. Then we will have Ari present, and then followed by Lucas and Melissa.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
So I originally wanted to do research on the monetizing of podcasts because it's not a popular topic. Like podcasters always speak about it on their podcast, but there hasn't been much research in this specific area. But the professor advised me to do something more user related in terms of my research. Did I read correctly?
I'm saying if you have access to those people who are the podcast
Oh,
creator, then you can do that. If
okay,
you don't, then if you can only access to users, you have to see the visibility.
okay. And I don't have access to them. They're celebrities. So I decided to go with podcasting as a determining agent of cognitive processing. So this is the outline, the introduction, research aim, liter, literature review, related studies, research gap, related theories, research framework, and methodology. I don't have the research questions here, but I have them here in my notes. I don't know why I didn't add it in. But what are podcasts? So Meng defined podcasting as the process of capturing an audio event, song, speech, or mix of sounds and posting that digital sound object to a website or blog in a data structure called an RSS 2.0 envelope or feed. So podcasts became known as radio for the people because back in 2004, between 2004 and 2014, radio stations they decided what topics you're going to speak about, what music gets played. They basically controlled their industry, and podcasters decided that this should not be so, that people should be exposed to all types of things and all types of topics and all types of discussions. And so between 2004 and 2014, for 10 years it struggled to hit mainstream until 2014, where a lot of people started creating their own podcasts. And currently there are more than 850,000, close to a million podcasts. Okay. So they were popularized by MTV personality Adam Curry, who is known only on the internet as the Podfather. I've never heard anyone call him that. Through his daily source code, iTunes began carrying podcasts in June 2005, and it was really after iTunes got on the podcast train that everyone else started follow suiting. So there's a short video here speaking about that. So this went into advertising, which is far from what I'm doing. But my research questions were like after receiving all the information about podcasts, if applying the social learning theory, has podcasts become the medium in which the current generation is being socialized? Two research questions. That's the first one. The second one is, to what extent does podcast affect cognitive processing of people between the ages of 18 and 45? Okay. So the research aim is to determine whether podcasters possess the influence to directly impact cognition processing, to determine whether podcasting affects the everyday decision making of its listeners. This is similar to influencers and celebrities in that, as you saw, advertisers use the podcast to spread their product, spread the word about their product, influence people into to buying their product. But I wanted to take this a bit further and try to find out if podcasts influence the way you think, the way you see things, the way you dress, the way you speak. And that is why I read these studies: podcast cognitive theory and RSS. What is the potential when used together? Because most of the studies that I found so far, they've been targeting using podcasts as an educational tool. But my question is, what if it goes beyond education? What if outside of using podcasts to speak about um, marketing, history, and regular school courses, what if podcasts are able to influence deeper decisions, everyday decision, what you wake up and eat, what's your process? Well, for example, a fit nut could decide he's doing a podcast. This is what I do every day, and you're looking at it. You want to lose weight. You're thinking, okay, I need to wake up and I need to do exactly what he's doing, and then that is actually part of social learning theory, which is the theory in which we learn from each other through observing, imitating, and modeling behaviors and attitudes of people. So far, the research gaps that I've found are podcast research in relation to cognitive behavior are mostly limited to the educational system. The recent popularity of podcasts coupled with the pandemic hasn't allowed for detailed research to be carried out. The use of RSS could impact the effectiveness of podcasting MLOs, and this is yet to be studied. So these are the research theories I wish to apply from communication theories. I already defined social learning theory. Agenda theory is basically, in a nutshell, the ability for an organization to transfer their agenda to the public. So in this theory, it states that mass media organizers determine what the general population considers newsworthy by its popularity. And framing is the way we interpret the way we interpret the media presented to us. And these frames function as a way in which we interpret information. So applying these theories, I intend to figure out whether podcasts influence your cognitive processing. So, excuse me, focus. So this is the research framework I came up with. I would like to differentiate between podcasts and traditional forms of media such as television, radio, newspapers, and I want to identify applicable communication theories and argue their correlations, like I listed those three before, but I'm sure other theories can be used as well if it doesn't exhaust me. And find case studies that explain how cognitive processing is influenced by the media. I go about this. I intend to observe, I don't know why I said watch, a total of three podcasts because they're usually like 2, 3 hours long together, and compare the comment attitudes and responses. So usually they're quite interactive on YouTube and on Spotify. There are a lot of comments during the pods, and I tend to use secondary data geared to I tend to use studies geared to understanding the relationship between the media and behavioral influences, and structured survey. I intend to create a survey in order to observe how exactly podcasts or podcasters influence behavior. So I plan to do this via social media. So I figure it would be easy to do these surveys on Instagram or Facebook because they even have these like widgets for them. So I could just put it up in my story and people could respond and I could collect all the data. So yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Would you please elaborate the secondary data? That part I'm a little bit.
Oh, well, I don't know if my understanding is wrong, but like using secondary data in research is using studies that I've done before, research papers, case studies, and use the data that they collected to form my own conclusion and discussions.
There will be two parts. One is like literature review because you have to be informed, right?
Yeah.
So like you have some podcast studies or you have some the introduction. You talk a lot about what is podcast. These are the documents, but you put in a lit review. If you want to say secondary data, that could be any kind of data, but that will be in your analysis.
Okay.
If you want to analyze in documents, because maybe the interview or observation won't be able to be sufficient, then you can say that.
Okay.
But if that's not an important part, you don't need to include.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I'm just wondering, so I guess like in the survey you will maybe ask whether the listener of the podcast really do what the podcaster says. Like if he says you have to work out 30 minutes a day, and then you ask whether do they really do that. Is that correct?
Yeah, but some of them they don't have to be. Some of the questions won't have to be that direct because for the podcast that I used in the first slide, um, the Joe Budden podcast, I used this because this was Spotify's #1 podcast in the U.S. So they were the highest paid podcasters from Spotify, and this guy, Mal, he would he at first I was wondering why would he want the higher chair or like what's the purpose of that? But then I realized he would wear certain brands and he would be paid to wear these brands like an influencer, and then people would start buying them. And so like I intend to ask, have you been motivated to buy brands that you've seen them wearing? Have you begun speaking like the way they speak, like using their terms, using their slangs? Like they, the three of them, they usually have different views on things. Like, have you adopted any of their views in your everyday life?
So would this one be the one you were observing?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking that maybe because in different kinds of podcasts, maybe people would learn different things.
different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't really be that specific. I just need to see if it does influence behavior.
Yeah. So maybe it would be better to choose one typical, like one
Podcast.
podcaster.
Maybe.
Like you said, 3 episodes.
Maybe, but won't I need something to compare it to?
So basically, last time, because the study you have selected happened in 2015 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I remember my suggestion to you is to focusing on one genre. Because I think podcasts just like department store. You have all kinds of podcasts.
Mhm.
When you're focusing on cognitive, which means they will give you more like knowledge or content. Cognitive
Okay.
is something you have to think, right?
Mhm.
Not necessarily you have to focusing on cognitive, but based on your title,
Yeah.
then you should select. If you want three cases or two or whoever cases the podcasters that you select, they will be in one type of podcast.
Okay.
Okay. In recent study, they have focusing on like a health podcast or medical podcast because there will be maybe there's something new. I have no idea. So you
Okay.
have to focusing on one specific kinds of podcast and thinking about what kind of characteristics they are and then how they influencing those people who actually listen to. If you want to still focusing on cognitive processing, then you need to think about something about knowledge because the term will be more related to social learning because it's learning, it's a cognitive, but you told us that you don't want to do something about education.
Yeah.
And the theory that you borrow is more related to the researchers actually examine more like educational or learning purposes
Okay.
podcast. So these are all related. Okay, first think about specific type of podcast that you want to examine. You can have remember Fabi actually finds three organizations, but the three organizations they are all news organizations, right? But they have different characteristics. So you need to think about one type of maybe podcasters. They have slightly, yeah, they have different characteristics you want to examine,
But they speak about the same topics.
at least in the same
Genre.
area.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, yeah. And then you can compare.
Okay, so I
Not necessarily three, depends on how many
Yeah.
numbers you want to look at. And whatever you have talked about, I would say you talk about everyday decision. That's a
Yeah.
huge thing. We don't know what is everyday. So
Mm.
if that's the topic and they usually talking about this, and then what kind of things they are influencing. For instance, you're talking about health lifestyles and the lose weight, and of course they will be more close to. They will follow the daily practices, exercise. You know, it's clear about what they have done and the comments and then what they have actually followed. So you need to see the flow of the things that you select. You
Okay.
still can use learning, but social learning is not necessarily only learning from the creators, content creators, but also learning from peers. So you said I've done a podcast user that often. So you talk about comments, right? People will comment to each other. So you can, for instance, you choose three or two podcasters, and then they have a community. You can pick those people who are more active and keep talking and responding, and then ask them whether they will be then observing their behaviors and talk to them and ask them whether they will be the interviewees.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything will be very close related to each other. And we don't need to do three different kinds of research methods because you have only one person. You have to really go into that and thinking clearly about what you want to focus, what you can contribute. And maybe also can think about COVID-19 during this period of time, what kind of new genre or new topic actually they are doing and how they're influencing people. I think that would be cool. And not necessarily just looking at the foreign, maybe some in your country, or there have to be a context. Those people talk about something and they are related to the context. Being narrow will be better than keep expanding.
Okay.
Research is about the focus. Okay. And finally, don't talk about framing, don't talk about, agenda setting, because if you think the social learning will be good enough and then add a little bit more and not go through the three or four different theories,
Okay.
and that's not the way how you actually will help you to do the analytical framework.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
So,
you.
so these will be my suggestion to you.
Okay.
Anything you guys want to add? Okay, thank you.
So, hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about the impact of the coronavirus on the quality of distance learning during the yes on distance learning, and so we decided to choose this topic because as a student we feel like concerned about the situation, and we have we no, yes, okay. Can you please next slide? Thank you. So the presentation will be divided in 3 parts. First one will be about the impact of the COVID on the global, with a global view, and then we will go in further details on Germany and France. And to conclude this part, we will talk about the impact on the video conferencing market. And on the second part, we will talk about the research aims, and we will conclude with our methodology, like what we would like to use to conduct the research.
All right, then I will get started. Although we focus on universities in our research proposal, I still found some very interesting numbers of UNICEF regarding school children. So currently, for 1 year, 168 million children missed their school attendance. Over 250 million children, they missed school by 75%, and even 888 million children have missed parts of their school and faced disruptions in the past year. So the impact on our education worldwide is pretty severe. And shall I do this slide? Yep. Yeah, sorry for the misunderstandings here. So the COVID-19 pandemic in Germany and France in comparison. So as you live in Taiwan, you are lucky to live there, because I think here the impact was a bit more harsh. So here we can see the progress of the pandemic. So in April, we had in Germany the first wave. Over the summer, it was a bit less, but then beginning of September, October, we had the second wave, and right now we are in the third wave of cases, and about 5% of the population in Germany have been vaccinated. For France, it looks nearly the same, with a bit of different spikes, peaks during the pandemic. And here we have a population of 4% now vaccinated, but the rollout is kind of slow here in Europe. So we are still waiting for a larger rollout. And to see the impact on a German university, I analyzed all our Corona policies in a short overview here, in a short timeline. And on the left, you have the cases in Germany to compare it together. So in the beginning of February last year, we had our first travel restrictions, as we have cooperations with Chinese universities. So everything there was canceled. And then 1 month later, we already had the first restrictions on our local campus, as we host a lot of events. Those events were canceled, like business conferences. And then 1 day later, actually in my class, in my course, one student, he returned from a skiing holiday from Austria, and he contracted the coronavirus, and I had to spend 2 full weeks in quarantine, and the whole uni was closed for 1 whole week. We were one of the first universities in whole Europe to shut their doors, the first in Germany at least. And this is why my university actually reacted pretty well in the coming weeks. As you can see here, first home office started for all employees, everything for students was cancelled, and then already 1 week later, we went to a full online mode. Then all lectures were just only streamed via Teams and Zoom, and everything in person was cancelled. And 1 month later, even our exams were conducted completely online. All right. Then over the summer, we switched to a hybrid approach, which lasted for the summer. But when the new students came, we chose to go into a quarantine mode and have only a full digital mode in August. And we switched back to hybrid mode again for September. But as you can see, the cases in September in Germany have risen again. So we had to go into a full online mode, and this is how we operate today, and we are still all at home. Yeah, a short overview on the video conferencing market. So there are certain apps, like Zoom and Teams. There are many business players like Cisco. Polycom is very famous here. Skype was used by private persons in the past a lot, and also by corporations. Now Microsoft has pushed their Teams service, but there are also others like Jitsi, and Google Meet is very popular. Google Classroom is one option here also. So there are a lot of players in the video conferencing market. And yeah, how did it change? So first Skype looked like this before the pandemic. Like, this is how I knew video conferencing, just with my friends and family, maximum 2 persons or so in a call. And during the pandemic, the development of video conferencing software, there was a lot of effort in it. So this is how video conferencing kind of looks like today. We have a lot of more participants, and we have interactive features. Like here you see the whiteboard functions, so where everybody can work simultaneously, or there are also in Teams options to have like assignments and grades and so on. So there was a rapid development during the pandemic here. And this was a short introduction. Melissa will continue with the research aims now.
Yes, so the main goal of our study was to observe and understand the quality of the quality perceived by students on e-learning, and as for all the studies we used to make the review, we noticed that most of them studied the media use like Zoom or YouTube, and the relevance of their use for the education market, but they don't focus on the like the course in itself, how it is during the class, and we think it's a good aspect to cover. And also they don't talk about the individual factors, for example the personal involvement of the person in the study from the beginning, or their personal motivation to work independently. So this is the energy that we can cover too. And here are the questions we would like to answer through our research. So how does distance learning reshape the interaction with lecture content, etc.? And the focus will be on Germany and France.
And now I had some echo. Does it work now? Yeah, now it works better. Okay, this is how I felt like in the past year. I think it describes well the lack of personal interaction. So everyone here sits in their small confined box, and the only way to be kind of social is via their keyboard. So this is the only way to contact others. So as you saw, my university is now for a long time fully online. So you can't have a lack of social interaction. Do you want to do this slides, Melissa, or shall I do it?
You can.
Okay, and then why? Our contribution of our research aims is especially to prepare for future pandemics, because as we have seen, this can happen kind of any time. And as I said, the vaccinations are kind of slow, and currently there are no vaccinations available for underage, so for children. And many students actually in Germany and France, when they begin to study, are 17 or even 16 in some parts. So there is a lack of vaccinations, and this might inhibit them from joining the campus in the foreseeable future. We will see about this. There are many vaccinations, many countries without vaccinations currently. So if I think of African countries or other development countries, it's even slower the vaccination rollout. And then distance learning might be more common in the future. So know that everybody worked with it, saw how it works, and might be used especially for niche courses in the future or multinational courses. And learnings can be adapted to other domains. For example, at my company in the business area, we have a lot of employee training, which would be conducted, which is always conducted via web conferencing. All right, then let's head over to the literature review. And first, we have divided the literature into two parts. So the first part is from before the pandemic, and the second part is from after the pandemic. So here's a very interesting paper from before the pandemic. It's from Picciano, and he analyzed learning theories and how to combine the different important aspects of learning theories with digital tools to achieve a proper quality in digital learning. But as we will see now, he still requires a hybrid approach. So all the green icons for fully taught digital course he selected are, he would do them with digital tools, but those two, the red icons, would be still in person in his paper. So he connects just to pick out, for example, the content of the course should be in a content management system like we already use with Moodle. But he also talks about reflection, which is very important for students, and suggests that you use a blog or journal here, and actually for kind of collaboration between students to use a wiki system here to enter the content there. And here you can also use peer review functions. But it still lacks of the face-to-face. And then we move over to the recent paper section. There was one very interesting paper about schools in the USA, actually, not universities, still schools, but they observed during the beginning of the pandemic all the pain points they had with remote learning and analyzed what drives the quality in remote learning and established a framework here. And the framework consists of two main aspects. One is the self-directed learning, which we have here in the lower part. And one of the most important things is still that the student is directed to learn for himself, as the name says, and that development of the students, the skills are fostered here by self-directed learning. And the second main part are effective instructions, and these can be separated into three areas. One would be the relationships. So as I already said, the lack of social interaction is very concerning. So social connections are very important here. They motivate you, they deepen your commitment. Then the next aspect is pedagogy. I hope I pronounce it correctly. It's about that you design the content, the learning strategies in a pedagogic way that makes sense for the student. And third is a very important aspect in online learning, which is technology, that you have accessible technology, that you blend the use of digital and analog tools, synchronous and asynchronous learnings, and experience, as it states here, based on goals and context. All right, then Melissa will continue with another study.
This study was conducted in Indonesia, and it was an interview method, and it explored the notion, of quality of the digital tools and the e-learning systems, and also technology allows for learning and acquiring more skills, and also avoiding discrimination. But students noted stronger preferences for the face-to-face classes. Yes. And for the methodology we would like to use, it's about questioning professor and the students from Germany and France, and we would like to use the semester two questionnaire and interview people through questions. But it's about the usage of the medium, the experience, also how do they learn, how they feel about the class, and what about the social interaction they have with their classmates, and also what do they think about the e-learning systems in itself. Thank you.
Right.
I don't
One
know if
thing
you
to
have
add from my
questions.
side here.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. We picked, normally we would use a questionnaire, but in my experience, so the learning process here, which we want to analyze, is very individual. So we still want to ask open questions, but many participants in such questionnaires are very hesitant to type a lot of words in there, as they don't want to spend a lot of time with it. So we also want to approach this with interviews afterwards. So questionnaire first for the main standardized questions, but the open questions, they can either type it, or if they're available to us for a short interview, they can answer them there. Yeah, then that's it from our side. Thank you for your attention, and let's head over to the questions.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Ari, it's your time to discuss. What's your question or feedback? Okay. Anyone else? Or Andrew? You seem paying a lot of attention to the topic. Any feedback? Okay, if you don't have any, okay, yes, sir. Yeah.
If she's talking, I can't understand anything.
Can you come forward? Maybe a little bit too far away. So she will come near.
It's a very simple question. I was thinking that what kind of platform did you ask in your questionnaire? All kinds of.
Sorry, but I still can't understand you. It's
So are
very
you
silent.
asking what kind of e-learning platform they are using?
In this research.
In this research? Because yeah, so she want to find out, since you are going to do comparison, right? So what kind of platform they are using for the e-learning system?
Especially we want to analyze the use of Zoom and Teams, so web conferencing tools, and in what environment they use it. So it's still interesting for us to hear that they use, for example, Moodle in the background as in a synergy with Teams, but there are also organization institutions who only use Teams, because Teams established functions like Moodle has for assignments, for grading, and so on during the pandemic. And because some institutions, they didn't have Moodle before and they were forced to switch fully online, some schools, for example, we want to analyze how they use it and how it impacts the quality of learning. So can they actually use sophistically Teams, for example, in such a way? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, she said yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. So I really like the topic. I think it's timely. I would like to, since it's a cross-country comparisons, then you need to be more specific. Okay, first of all, I really like what you demonstrating what's happening in the two countries in terms of the COVID-19, and then how the learning, has been interrupted or hybrid, or is distant. So can you focusing on the current status quo? What I'm saying is that you don't need to compare in the past, because it's third wave, right? And you already got some vaccination, so the status will be very different from the previous. And then I also see how you demonstrate a very, I think, advanced system that people can even have some interactions on the system, not just like ours, because we can only talk to each other and demonstrate a more, just a PPT and no interaction from the content and us. So the thing is that you're focusing on right now, and you also need to thinking about what kind of system that you are examining, because just like Lucas, you answer there are so many different kinds of systems. And there could be also people with different use of the technologies. So you may think about what kind of system, maybe the most advanced, I don't know, or the most common way that people are doing the learning, then you will have a basis in one country and compare with the other country. Does that make sense?
Yes, partly. We just need to check because in Germany, data protection is very strict. So, for example, we only use Teams, but Zoom is not very liked here, for example. Right now, I'm not sure which system French universities prefer to use. Possibly Melissa can tell us.
We use majorly Zoom.
Yeah. So we would focus on Zoom and Teams, for example. Because only focusing on Zoom would be not possible because there are not many German universities who actually use Zoom.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so what I'm saying is that you don't need to focus in each country. Perhaps you will say the most common use platform, okay, and then use that one. And last time I think I also respond to your research topic. I said, what kind of students? You know, are you looking
Yeah.
at more university students? That's more closer to your experiences. Okay, so focusing on that, you have to specify. And even different subjects will have different ways to interaction. So make things that, because you are all business school, right?
Yeah,
So
and then we will
perhaps,
pick
the
business
most,
schools.
yeah, most likely you can compare with each other is that you're focusing on more humanity, social science, or, something like that to be more focused, business school students. Okay. So when you have two country and lots of things and being control, and then you know they can compare, and the meaning of the comparison will actually reveal better. That's what I will suggest you to do first. And also, I like the slides that you share, and you sort of divide into the three dimensions: the relationship, pedagogy, and also technologies, right? The three aspects. Can you show that slide? So uh, perhaps you can use that as the structure to develop your no matter questionnaire or interviews, because these are the three components actually cover the whole so-called e-learning experiences. You agree?
Yeah, I really liked this paper.
Okay.
It was very interesting to read.
Yeah, and then so I think if you're looking at the three dimensions and thinking about your RQs will be better than what you proposed in the very beginning, because they are very, I would say it's more intuitive ways that I know you are coming from maybe certain papers, but they probably just develop in the very beginning. Sometimes when it's emergent and just in the very beginning of the status, like COVID-19 just broke out, and people may think about more the direct ways to answer the questions. But I think if you can use the three dimensions and ask questions about them in terms of how they use technologies and influencing, maybe they interact with the content or the classroom dynamics. Thinking about these questions will help you to actually upgrade your RQs better, or your interview questions or survey questions later. These are more structures, and also can incorporate the circling that you show, the different components, thinking about how to put them together, the lead review, and sort of shed light to what you're going to ask. Because right now it's still quite a little bit ambiguous in terms of what you are going to exam or what you are going to ask. And survey maybe is a good way to get more data from people, especially maybe during the social distancing period of time. But you can also consider doing something like an e-interview. Yeah, it's like now we are doing something like e-interview. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you don't need to face people, but you can ask them uh, to get more details. So that can overcome your obstacles in terms of people may not like to type a lot of things for the open-ended questions. Okay, all right. So I think you two can talk to each other and thinking about how to work together and how to actually make a better comparisons into country, narrow down to who you want to compare, and also the structure to compare. Then that will come out with more meaningful answers. especially focusing on right now. Yeah, what's gone is gone. So now is more important, and nobody has done anything in a third way. I think they're still very new and very interesting. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have any question?
No.
No? Okay.
Regarding a very general question regarding Moodle, so Andrew just texted in the group, so we will be still using both Moodle systems?
Okay, so you guys can totally migrate to the new Moodle because Andrew will move everything from the old Moodle to new Moodle. So you just go to the e-Moodle. Yeah, so
All
you
right.
get everything. And then we would like you to interact over there too. So for today, you have finished the presentation. So you have 1 week to think about whether you want to revise your PPT and to be more elaborated because my 10 marks will be based on that. But today you have the 5 marks of the oral presentation. So you still have 1 week, okay? So after you uploading, then I'll have the marks. And then for today's presentation, you will also have to responding to your classmates individually. For instance, maybe Ming will write to the rest 3 groups and then tell them maybe there are points they want to think about and give me the rank of your preferences based on, that's a form, right? Have some criteria. You think which group in your heart right now you think is the best one, then you rank 1. And you can test me or you can email me, tell me your results. Okay. So
All
clear?
right.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So I think later on I will have the discussion with the group here. If you want to continue discuss with me, I can first go to your group. But if you think you need to think about and then discuss between yourself, that's fine to me. But don't forget, you have 24 hours to responding to your friends, in the e-Moodle. Okay. So you want to talk to me or you want to talk to yourself?
I think we will discuss in our group.
Okay. So I think you can just carry offline, or between yourself. You don't need to hand on the screen. Okay. So I will talk to them. So next week we don't have class. There will be a holiday for spring break. Okay. When we return, there will be another professor, but I was still in the classroom. So whenever you want to contact me, you can ask. So if you, all along the way, if you develop any of your questionnaire, you have any problems or you have any questions, interview questions you want me to take a look, I will be very happy to do that. So just text me or email me, okay? It's not like suddenly after 6 or 7 weeks and then you have the results and then I'm always here so you can talk to me, all right? I'm here to help.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That you discuss. I believe you will discuss.
Okay.
Okay, see you.
See you.